Adolescence, it's a great time of life, or it's not. I don't know. I had a great adolescence. We're going to talk today about cognitive changes, physical changes, social changes, talk about identity. It's awesome. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Physical growth. So you know this, puberty, a time of great biochemical and physical changes. We'll talk about the biochemical changes here in a second. Also, rapid skeletal and sexual maturity. Now, if you think back to middle school, were you a little clumsy? Did you stumble? It's probably because your body was growing, your muscular skeletal system was growing so fast, your mind couldn't keep up with it, and you would accidentally stumble or trip and fall. I did a lot. What's going on in your brain? Your hypothalamus, it triggers your endocrine system, activates your pituitary gland, and then produces those sex hormones, which creates all these changes, the testosterone, the estrogen, all that good stuff. This is happening earlier than ever before. 100 years ago, the average age for puberty was like 14 and a half. Today, it's like 12 and a half. Girls usually about a year earlier than that, 11 and a half. Boys usually about 2 years later, 13 and a half, 2 years after girls. You know what I mean. Why is it happening earlier? Some reasons, probably diet, increased body fat, better nutrition, but then also stress can activate puberty at a younger age as well. During this time, kids are developing primary and secondary sex characteristics. Primary is our reproductive organs, right? The parts that actually make the babies. Secondary are not necessarily directly used for reproduction. Some examples, girls, when they get their wider hips, breasts begin to develop. Boys, you get the deeper voice, facial hair growth starts. Love this guy. Look at that mustache. He looks fantastic. And then you know this, but males, they have one Y chromosome. Females have 2 X chromosomes. Cognitive development, neural pruning advances during adolescence. Now you think about neural pruning, and that's the strengthening or getting rid of neural connections. You usually think of this with infants. After birth, there's all these connections going on, and they're trying to figure out which connections are working, which ones aren't, and you're constantly going through this pruning of neural connections. This happens again during adolescence. This is really fine-tuning the brain, strengthening those networks that are used the most, and then if you don't use some, those skills will eventually be lost. The limbic system, this controls our what? Our emotions. Controls our emotions. Now, during adolescence, our limbic system is mostly solidified. It enables basic emotions and motivations. But what's interesting about this being fully developed is what part of our brain is not fully developed. Do you remember? It's your prefrontal cortex. That usually doesn't finish being developed until early 20s, mid-20s. Lags behind that limbic system, and it controls our high cognitive functions. So think about this. In adolescence, you have a fully functioning endocrine emotional system, but your frontal lobe, which controls decision-making, problem-solving, rational thought, that filter isn't complete. Does it make sense why some adolescents can be very emotional? Of course, right? This is why teens can be explosive, moody, maybe reckless. Now, can adults be explosive, moody, and reckless as well? Of course. But adults have that developed frontal lobe that acts as a filter that they can help control some of those emotions. Abstract, hypothetical thinking become possible during this time. This is shown because lots of teens and adolescents advocate for change in the world. This is great. This is a great thing. They also begin to analyze establishments like religion, politics, societal ideas. And it makes sense. You think about kids going, seniors in high school, going off to college. Lots of times these individuals are rethinking, hey, do I want to have the same political beliefs or religious beliefs as my parents? And it's a time when they kind of explore some of those ideas. Social changes. According to Piaget, there's a reemergence of egocentrism. So think back to Piaget, his second stage, the pre-operational stage. We have egocentrism with little kids. We have this reemergence. It's a little different, but it's a similar idea. He says that teens believe their experiences are unique. Others don't understand. 3 things that go along with this. 1 is peer pressure. You know this, the tendency to conform, to avoid social isolation. But then there's also 2 other ones. So write this down. Personal fables, assuming that you're special and unlike anyone else. This can lead to excessive optimism and risky behavior, unfortunately. So teens, maybe they know the consequences of certain things, drinking and driving, drug use, unprotected sex, but it's because it's like, hey, it's not going to happen to me. Another one is imaginary audience, thinking other people are watching us when really nobody else is. This is definitely exacerbated by social media. And then lastly, positive parent-teen relationships are so important during this time. Lots of correlations, healthier peer relationships, better academic performance, less behavior problems. And then our last term here with social is emerging adulthood. This is also called extended adolescence. Teens being dependent on their parents, even as they enter their 20s. Think about this. Maybe you go take a year off before you go to college. Maybe during your first summer after college, you come home, live with your parents. Maybe even after you graduate college, you live at your parents' house for a year or two while you're getting established, finding where you want to live, and figuring all that out. Transformation during adolescence. I'm not going to play this video. Great little video here. It's like 3 minutes long. I will link it right down below. But a couple things they go over, all the changes. They look at brain development, specifically neural pruning and puberty, but also social influences like peer pressure and social abilities. All right, creating a sense of identity. This is interesting. Many teens, we know we try out different roles, different activities, try and figure out who we are and what we want to do. Think back to like your middle school years. How many times did you change the music you listen to, change the way you dress, your friend group, activities you did, right? We're trying to figure out that sense of identity. This guy, James Marcia, he proposed 4 stages in developing this identity. I got the little chart down there, and you can see it goes from commitment, it goes low to high, and also exploration, it goes low to high. And kind of track along, he's got 4 stages he goes through. So the first one, identity diffusion, no commitment about your own identity. Now, this is probably like preschooler, early elementary school, like don't really care about their identity, right? They're just kind of living their life. Then we have identity foreclosure, adopting the core beliefs of other people, probably our parents, right? Political beliefs, even if we don't, as an elementary school kid, you don't know anything about politics, but you're like, my parents are this, so I'm going to be this also, right? Religious, societal beliefs, stuff like that. Identity foreclosure. Third one, identity moratorium. This is when we're out and we're exploring those different activities and beliefs, right? Middle school you, right? All these different things that you're trying out. And you look at this, identity moratorium down there on the bottom, low commitment, but high exploration. So you're not really committed to one, but you're trying out lots of different things. And then finally, we have identity achievement. We've identified, we've acknowledged an identity, and we're going with that. He also says, right, we don't have to go through each stage. We can skip stages. We can go back through stages multiple times. But it kind of makes sense how we develop our identity according to Marcia. All right, finally, we're going to do gender identity. So the definition for this is an individual's internalized belief about being male or female. This involves incorporating gender roles into one's self-concept. Guys, I fall into this. As the dad, I love mowing the lawn. Kind of wish I was mowing the lawn right now. Behaviors, traits, attitudes associated with being male or female. The social learning theory argues that gender is constructed through 2 things. One, observation, but then also rewards and punishments. Now think back to my man, Albert Bandura. Do you remember what experiment he did? Bobo doll experiment, right? Kids watched adults beating up this blow up clown doll. And then what did they do? They went and did the same thing. But if they saw adults playing nicely with the clown doll, they also played nicely. So we learned it through observation. But then also, who was the rewards and punishments guy? B.F. Skinner. Good job. So through rewards and punishments as well. Gender typing, this is a good term, write this down. Gender typing is the process of learning expected roles for boys and girls. Now, how do we learn it? Right? Observation, rewards and punishments, but it's implicit as well as explicit. So somebody could be telling us, but then also all the things that we see. Think about toys, commercials, stereotypes, all this different stuff. For example, at a baby shower, blue gifts are given for boys, pink for girls, and yellow or green if the sex is unknown. I didn't know that. I have not been to a lot of baby showers, and it's not fair. I want to go, mostly for the snacks. All right, boys, we know are expected to be tough. Girls are seen as delicate. And then sexual orientation refers who you're attracted to. I think about a compass, like orienting who you're pointed towards, who you're attracted to. Finally, sex is a person's biology, while gender is their traits. Oh man, you guys, we made it. Review time. Review time. 3 quick questions. Here we go. First question. While at a friend's party, Alan begins to feel self-conscious because he assumes everyone is staring at him. What adolescent belief is he feeling? Does it have anything to do with the picture? That part. Why is there a cheese grater, but there's cubes of cheese? Who took this picture? Is it A, personal fable, B, imaginary audience, C, awkwardness, D, insecure attachment, or B, imaginary persona? That is a block of cheese in the back, not the cube, not the shredder. Next question. Which of the following is true about brain development during adolescence and early adulthood? The frontal lobe has completed development by late adolescence. New neural networks will not be established after early 20s. Neural pruning occurs during mid to late adolescence. All association areas of the brain have been dedicated to particular tasks by late adolescence, or the myelin sheath is developing along the axons of neurons primarily during adolescence. Let me move my face, and maybe the picture will give you a hint. What do you think? It is C for taxicab. Taxicab. Last one. Caden is 26 and she has many college friends. She just started a nursing job while living at home with her parents and pays them a small amount of rent. She plans to look for an apartment in the next few years. Which of the following is she experiencing? I bet you can say it without the options. You got it? Is it identity and role confusion, peer pressure, stagnation, gender identity, or emerging adulthood? You know, e-bikes, baby. Woo! Did it. Great job. Listen, last thing, give me a 1-sentence, 20-word or so summary. It makes you remember. Look over your notes tomorrow. Look over your notes in a couple days, and you're going to be awesome. You guys are the best. Great job today. Proud of you. Be a super student. Check out the next video if you want. I don't know. All right. Have a great day. It's time for more coffee. I don't need more coffee, probably. Oh, well.